Chapter 160 Enlightenment. KK was still infuriated, and made a few hand gestures at Juzi. Juzi shook her head and said, forget it, don't bother with him. Didn't you say that he was an orphan? KK stuck her tongue out and said, you're the one with compassion. I'm the one who got whacked. Juzi laughed and replied, he didn't whack you. He only touched you. Come to think of it, Zemu was the only one who got hit. Even Wang Xiaojie only got glared at. I wonder how he started bleeding and fainted. The two of them were feeling better now. They were also a little stunned as they recalled Huo Yuao's performance just now. Huo Yuao's abilities had left a deep impression on them. Oi. Juzi called out to Huo Yuao, my name is Huo Yuao, not Oi. Huo Yuao turned around, annoyed. He couldn't focus on his thinking as the two of them stared at him. Furthermore, it seemed like Teacher Sun wouldn't be back in time for lessons. He was prepared to return to the dormitory to cultivate. All right, Huo Yuao, what's your martial soul? Are the claws that you used just now your soul tool? What class is it? Zemu's class 5 soul tool barrier couldn't even block it. That's not normal. Huo Yuao smiled and said, it's a secret. I'm leaving now. As he spoke, he started to walk out. You're not allowed to leave before answering me. KK moved in front of him. Huo Yuao didn't care and continued to move forward. He said, what? You want to get frozen again? KK didn't dare to clash head-on with him, and seeing that they were about to knock into each other, she dodged to one side unwillingly. Huo Yuao opened the laboratory door and walked out just like that. Idiot. KK slapped the table hard and said angrily, this fellow is too unreasonable. Humph. Forget it, Juzi snapped at her. He's an orphan. Anyway, we're the ones who provoked him first. Hey, Juzi, how can you side with him? Are you into him because his abilities are great? It seems like he's not even our age. Pooh. Juzi snapped. Did you forget what my goal is? I swear that I'll marry the best chef on the continent. That's the only way my insatiable appetite can be satisfied. KK laughed and answered, your goal is tortured Zemu. He had the ability to enter the illustrious Virtue Hall last year, but he delayed it for you. He even allocates some time every day to learn cooking. Honestly speaking, he treats you quite well. Why are you so stubborn? Juzi rolled her eyes and said, forget it. I don't want to find a guy who I have no sense of security with. I'm not into handsome guys. I'm not as obsessed as you. You can have him if you want. Embarrassed, KK retorted, you're the one who's obsessed. See if I spare you. As she spoke, she leapt towards Juzi. Their conflict with Huo Yuao seemed to have been forgotten. Women's hearts were really unfathomable. Huo Yuao's lifestyle back in the dormitory was simple, yet fulfilling. He engaged in meditation, thinking, cultivation, and sketching. Besides the short amount of time he allocated to eating, Huo Yuao did all of these things in his room. It was only when K2 came to find him at night that they shared their findings over the past few days. That was the only time that he stopped cultivation. Bang, bang, bang. The room's door sounded. Huo Yuao and K2 looked at each other. Who was here so late? The sky was already completely dark, and the lights in the dorms were about to go out for the night. Huo Yuao opened the door. Sun Wen was standing outside. He looked ghastly. He didn't enter the room, and only said from the hallway, Yuao, Wang Xiaojie's condition is not very good. Will he really recover in half a month's time? It seemed like the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy had healing-type soul tools apart from healing-type soul masters. However, one's mind and spiritual sea had always been forbidden ground. Soul masters and soul engineers were both limited in their research on spiritual seas. After all, it was too dangerous to venture into such an aspect, since it might lead to permanent impairment. Wang Xiaojie's mind had suffered from a powerful shock. Although he was a 5-ring Soul King, most of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy students relied on medicine and some soul tools to increase their cultivation when they were young. Just like Shrek Academy's soul engineers couldn't compare to the Sun Moon Empire, the Sun Moon Empire's soul engineers were inferior to true soul masters in terms of defenses. Wang Xiaojie's spiritual power wasn't strong, and he was critically injured after suffering from Huo Yuao's spiritual shock. The Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy's healing-type soul masters didn't dare to use invasive methods to heal him. They could only let him recuperate on his own, like what Huo Yuao had suggested. Huo Yuao nodded and replied, I held back. It won't harm his life. He just needs a while to rest. After one's mind suffers from shock, it's best to recuperate on one's own. External help may be counter-effective. Sun Wen nodded his head and said, that's good. But as he spoke to that point, he became a little hesitant. Huo Yuao was puzzled as he asked, Teacher Sun, but what? Sun Wen sighed and said, Wang Xiaojie has some standing in the Empire's royal family. Thus, the royal family has already learned of his injury. They want me to hand you over. Even though I tried to keep matters under control, they're still demanding that you be handed over. I'm afraid you'll have to suffer for a few days. Huo Yuao squinted and asked, Teacher Sun, what do you mean? Sun Wen said, let's put it this way. They didn't test our newly created soul tool properly the last time. Tomorrow, you shall follow Juzi and KK to test that newly created soul tool. You'll return in half a month's time. If Wang Xiaojie wakes up like you said, the problem should be resolved. Leave things here to me. Huo Yuao could sense that Sun Wen was protecting him. He felt a tinge of warmth in his heart and bowed towards him. Thank you, Teacher Sun. Sun Wen smiled and said, you're my student. I must be responsible for you. If you really want to thank me, you should invest more effort in the research of soul tools. I'm waiting for you to surprise me more. All right, it's no longer early. Have an early night. Tomorrow morning, wait for the two of them at the gate of the academy. They will bring you to a suitable testing area. Yes. Sun Wen left, and Huo Yuao returned to his room. K2 was a little worried as he looked at him. He said, Little Junior, should I go with you tomorrow? Is this their scheme? If something happens while you're out. Huo Yuao shook his head and said, it's not a scheme. I believe Teacher Sun. Second Senior, you should know that I'm quite sensitive. If Teacher Sun had been nervous when he was talking to me earlier, I would have been able to sense it immediately. Furthermore, I believe in my own judgment. If the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy wants to deal with me, they can only do so after the exchange is over. After all, Meng Chen and Xiao Chen are still in Shrek. If something happens to me, will Shrek let them off? Let me follow Teacher Sun's arrangement. It's also good for me to leave the academy. I can pass on all the sketchings I've made. At the same time, I can take a look at their new soul tool. K2 nodded and said, but you must still be careful. If you're attacked, don't think too much, and escape. Safety is your first priority. The two of them looked at each other. They were still exploring, since they had just arrived. Although they had learned some things, they were still very far from the core of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. Second Senior, I can sense that Teacher Sun is under a lot of pressure teaching me. Otherwise, he wouldn't just be teaching me all the theoretical stuff, and not explaining the practical stuff to me. What about you? K2 laughed bitterly. We did talk about practical stuff, but they're all about class 8 soul tools, which I can't understand. I don't have a memory like you, either. I can only memorize a little, and my sketchings are all incomplete. They're obviously playing tricks on me. I believe that the rest are also learning the same things. Huo Yuao chortled and said, that's normal. If they didn't do this, I might even have suspected that something was wrong. It's not early anymore. You should return to rest. I'll be out for at least half a month this time. I hope that I can learn something. K2 left, but Huo Yuao couldn't enter his meditative state while laying on his bed. His emotions were a little messy. He had already been in the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy for 4 days. He had learned quite a lot in the past 4 days. Although he hadn't encountered anything important yet, the knowledge that he had acquired was definitely more than the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy expected. However, he didn't like the feeling here. Compared to the familiar warmth that he felt in Shrek Academy, he always had to be on his toes over here. He had to be able to react at any time, and he was wary of everyone around him. Huo Yuao missed the time he'd spent cultivating in Shrek Academy. If it were possible, he hoped that the 2.5 years would pass quickly, so that he could return to Shrek and reunite with his friends. When he thought of his friends, he couldn't help but miss Wang Dong. He didn't wake Wang Dong up the day that they separated. However, Huo Yuao could clearly remember the tears in Wang Dong's eyes. Wang Dong had even muttered his name in his dreams, and begged him not to leave. His voice had even seemed to. Huo Yuao's heart was a mess when he reached this point. Wang Dong's figure and the ravishing beauty formed from the raiment of light's transformation appeared in his mind. These messy thoughts made him filled with yearning for Shrek Academy. Was eldest senior fine? Did he find teacher Xiao here yet? How was the relationship between third and fourth seniors? Fifth senior Xiao had also seemed a little different before he left with second senior. As for Wang Dong, he discovered the truth about him when he returned. The next morning, A refreshingly chilly, light mist filled the air. Huo Yuao had changed his attire. His current ordinary attire made him seem like an ordinary kid. The sun had already risen halfway in the east. He'd also finished cultivating his purple demon eyes. He'd made the quickest progress in the purple demon eyes among all of the Tang Sect's secret techniques. There were 4 different levels of the purple demon eyes: surveillance, totality, mustard seed, and boundlessness. He was already at the 3rd level, mustard seed. He'd managed to reach this level using his spiritual detection to research the ability to focus. He was also the first to reach the mustard seed level among everyone in the Tang Sect. Even Shrek Academy's senior management didn't know that Huo Yuao's greatest offensive strength didn't lie in his ultimate ice or dark golden terraclaw. Rather, it was his immense spiritual power that could be used through the combination of his purple demon eyes and spiritual shock. His irresistible spiritual power was the reason why he could fight beyond his level. In the distance, 2 graceful-looking figures drifted into view. They were walking very quickly and reached Huo Yuao quite quickly. Juzi had changed into a white dress, which accentuated her figure. Her silky white skin looked much brighter, as it was complemented by her white attire. KK was dressed in green and looked very neat. Although her figure wasn't as good as Juzi's, it was still very proportionate, her dress making her look more vibrant. The two of them weren't kind when they saw Huo Yuao. KK placed her hands on her waist and said, "It's all your fault that we have to go out again. Teacher Sun said that you have to listen to the both of us when we're out. If you dare to try anything, the academy will expel you and immediately send you back to Shrek Academy." Huo Yuao was a little annoyed, thus he shrugged his shoulders. He simply gestured for them to advance, but didn't say anything. Juzi glanced at him and said, "Let's go. We're heading to the Jingyang mountain range. There are many soul beasts there. We should forget our conflict back in the academy and work together on this journey. You're the only male here, thus you should protect us well." Huo Yuao was a little stunned as he looked at Juzi. He hadn't expected her temperament to change so much. He nodded and said, "Okay." KK was annoyed after hearing Huo Yuao's short reply and said, "Hey, you're taking this attitude even though Sister Juzi is being so nice to you?" Huo Yuao laughed bitterly. "Am I supposed to be grateful? The two of you were bullying me just yesterday." KK glare grew even wider. It was as if she'd just heard something ridiculous. "We bullied you?" Wang Xiaojie is still unconscious, while Zemu's injury is still quite serious. "Who bullied who?" Huo Yuao answered, "I was just defending myself." "Could you take it if someone calls you a bastard?" KK wanted to say more, but was stopped by Juzi. "All right, let's go." Huo Yuao, Teacher Sun indeed said that I'm the leader for this trip. Don't worry, I won't take revenge on you for what happened earlier. It's one thing to have conflicts in the academy, but even though you're an exchange student, you're still part of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. You're even leaving the academy to experiment on soul tools on its behalf. Let's go. Once she finished speaking, she forced KK to walk in front. KK turned to look at Huo Yuao. "Can you use a flying type soul tool despite your 3 rings?" A pair of wings flapped open behind her as she spoke. Her toes pointed upwards, and 2 blue flames spewed out from her wings, which quickly propelled her into the air. Juzi also turned back to look at Huo Yuao, asking him the same question with her eyes. Huo Yuao didn't speak, but a simple, grayish pair of wings flapped open behind his back. A gentle white light shot out and propelled him into the sky. Even though he wasn't a Class 6 soul engineer in the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, he still had a flying type soul tool with him. Juzi's flying type soul tool was orangish red. She seemed to love his color. 3 pairs of wings flapped in the air and headed towards the south. At this point, the difference in their soul tools was revealed. Juzi and KK seemed very relaxed as they flew in front. However, they were still very fast. Their wings even released a layer of dim light that formed a film on the surface of their bodies. Even their hair swayed in the wind as they flew. Huo Yuao, on the other hand, was lagging behind them. Although he tried his best to propel his self-made Class 5 flying type soul tool, he couldn't catch up, and thus was still depleting more soul power than the other 2, who would slow down to wait for him so that he didn't get separated from the group. KK was delighted. Every time they waited for Huo Yuao, her eyes held a look of disdain and mockery. Huo Yuao didn't react to this. He knew how inferior he was in terms of soul tools, and that it wasn't something that he could make up for in such a short period of time. However, he memorized the structures and formation arrays of their soul tools as they flew. Sun Quan didn't conduct practicals for him, thus he had to find real-life examples to test his theories. Even now, Huo Yuao didn't know exactly where the Jingyang mountain range was. He was fine just following the both of them. However, he could make a rough guess from Juzi's words. The Jingyang mountain range had many soul beasts. Was this an arrangement that Teacher Sun had made so that he could get his 4th soul ring? That was highly probable. After flying for 2 hours, Huo Yuao expressed that he needed to rest. Afterwards, he flew downwards, disregarding the other 2's opinions. He still had some soul power left, but he wouldn't deplete it all. He found a suitable place to rest as he descended. Once he landed, he immediately sat cross-legged and entered a meditative state to restore his soul power. Juzi and KK landed after him. KK stuck out her tongue at Huo Yuao. Wasn't he arrogant before? His soul engineer standard is just average. He can't be arrogant anymore, can he? Sister Juzi, you're right. With enough distance between us, this fellow wouldn't be our match. Juzi didn't say anything, simply watching Huo Yuao. She appeared to be thinking of something. She was the only one out of the 4 yesterday that had seen the entire fight. Huo Yuao left a deep impression on her, not because of his dark golden terraclaws, but because of his punch towards Zemu's soul shield. Juzi had felt as if he was a king capable of ruling the world at that point in time. She'd seen the extremely wise, intelligent and powerful Zemu be unable to even handle his strike, and collapse after just 1 punch. She couldn't forget the golden light in Huo Yuao's eyes and his dominant might. The horrible feeling she'd felt from being frozen by the domain of perpetual ice had been replaced by curiosity. How magical was this young fellow from Shrek Academy? She was only a student, and didn't have the authority to investigate Huo Yuao's background like Sun Quan. However, she clearly felt that he wasn't just some random 3-ringed soul master. There must be some secret to him. Shrek Academy was indeed mysterious. All right, KK. We have to stick together since we're on the same trip. There are bound to be conflicts. If we meet danger and can't work together, won't we just be harming ourselves? Let's take a break too. Juzi pulled KK and sat down. They had more soul power than Huo Yuao, and had depleted less of it too. However, Huo Yuao's restoration left both of them shocked. It only took 15 minutes before he opened his eyes, looking refreshed. KK was stunned and asked, "Your soul power's already been restored." She hadn't even seen Huo Yuao using an auxiliary type soul tool like a milk bottle. Huo Yuao nodded and said, "We can leave now." His soul power increased very slowly even though he'd had the greatest support from Shrek Academy in terms of resources. He'd only managed to reach rank 40 with Elder Mu's help before he passed on. His improvement was slow even though he'd had the help of the Hadong power and worked very hard on his cultivation. However, it wasn't that simple. His soul power was extremely dense, much more than that of any ordinary soul masters. More importantly, his endurance in battle and regenerative abilities were greater than most soul masters at the same level as him. Huo Yuao estimated that with his current cultivation speed he'd need 5 more years to reach rank 50. Should everything go smoothly, he would need 10 years before he reached rank 60. As for becoming a rank 70 soul sage, it would require 20 years. The progression of an ultimate element soul master was indeed fraught with difficulties. However, could his cultivation speed really be appraised as normal? Elder Mu had already helped him find the most suitable path. Although this path was difficult to tread, it was already a shortcut. He even had another shortcut for himself. However, it wasn't the time for him to fully activate his potential yet. Huo Yuao wondered whether he could fulfill his true mission here in the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. When he thought of this point, a streak of blinding light flashed through his eyes. Juzi managed to capture that light in his eyes, and she discovered that her heart throbbed a little when she saw it. How was it possible for someone his age to have such a look in his eyes? Why did she feel like she was looking at the cold eyes of a huge soul beast? They flew up once again, but Juzi didn't remain at the front with KK, instead choosing to fly alongside Huo Yuao. Huo Yuao, the Jingyang mountain range is located in the northern region of the Sun Moon continent. It's around 1,000 miles away, so it'll be another 6 hours for our flight. The Jingyang mountain range covers a wide expanse, and is engulfed by thick vegetation. There are many valuable resources located there, but there There are also many metal-type soul beasts. Even spiritual-type soul beasts have been known to appear. Teacher-san asked me to tell you that. He told me to let you use your own judgment. Don't miss the opportunity if a suitable soul beast appears. KK and I will help you too. Huo Yuao nodded and said, thanks, senior sister. Juzi's kind gesture removed the disdain he held her in previously, and his tone of voice also became much gentler. However, he remained quiet. It was impossible for him to not be wary of them. KK twisted her lips beside Juzi and didn't make a sound. She didn't hold any less contempt for Huo Yuao, and she vividly recalled how Huo Yuao had strangled her. When that happened, she felt as if she was going to die. Her entire body turned numb from the struggle, and she even felt that she would never wake up again. They flew for another 2 hours before resting again. Let's eat before we continue our journey. With our current speed, we'll reach the Jingyang mountain range before evening. Juzi looked at the sky and instructed them to rest. She was fully prepared for this trip. She brought out a large quantity of food from her storage-type soul tool, which she had since she was a lady who loved to eat. There were vegetables, fruits, frozen meats and even condiments. Needless to say, she was well prepared. She even brought her own kitchen cutlery. Juzi was delighted when she saw Huo Yuao staring at her in a daze. I'm going to show off my skills now and let you two taste my outdoor grilled food. It's definitely delicious. Be careful not to eat your tongue too. As she spoke, she set up the grill and started a fire to prepare her food. Huo Yuao was a little stunned as he watched. He had a weird feeling in his heart, because he was always the one who grilled meat for others. However, it was the reverse now, an entirely new experience for him. He didn't say much, and just watched quietly. You're in luck. Sister Juzi's cooking is the best. Even Zemu and Wang Xiaojie rarely get to try it. After flying for 4 hours, KK seemed to have forgotten the conflict between her and Huo Yuao. Although still as petty as ever, the contempt in her eyes had dissipated. Haha. Huo Yuao laughed even though he thought it seemed a little silly. KK snapped. What are you laughing at? Oh right, what type of a soul engineer are you? Type. Huo Yuao was a little puzzled as he looked at her. KK seemed as if she were looking at a freak and said, that can't be right. Don't tell me that Shrek is so backwards that it doesn't categorize its soul engineers. Soul masters must tend towards a certain aspect. No soul engineers can excel in all areas, unless you're a research-type soul engineer like Teacher-san, who puts research as his priority, and is not inclined towards any certain aspect. You must be a close combat type of soul engineer, since your close combat skills are so honed. However, I haven't seen you use a close combat soul tool before. Boom. Huo Yuao felt the illusion of something that had been confusing him for a long time instantly being blown to pieces in his brain. A light appeared in his head. All this while, he and Hikato had been cultivating tirelessly because of the ultimate soldier plan. They practically tortured themselves every day. How couldn't he feel tired? Wasn't he human too? Even though his memory was shockingly good, and his spiritual power was superior to that of most others, he would still be fatigued when he tried to meditate at night. This was also why his mind became unstable when Elden Yu passed away. In Shrek Academy, the Soul Tool department was undergoing rapid development. The ultimate soldier plan's goal is to nurture an invincible soul master and soul engineer. This was a great motivational plan for Huo Yuao, but also a great source of mental pressure. KK's words jolted him awake, especially when she mentioned that no soul engineer could excel in all areas. Yes. No wonder he felt as though his improvements didn't match up with that of Hikato's, even though his soul engineer rank increased. This was the problem. Hikato had managed to find his path, which was in the area of stationary soul tools. What about him? Besides stationary soul tools, he learned everything. The immense knowledge that he had been assimilating caused him to become incredibly exhausted. She was right. He needed to make a choice, to decide on a path suitable for him. If he continued like this, he might be unable to become the ultimate soldier. If things went wrong, he might even be overwhelmed in the complex and advanced knowledge of soul tools. Huo Yuao felt very free when he figured all this out. He stood up and bowed towards KK. Thank you. KK jumped in shock. Hey, are you okay? Are you sick in the head? I don't want to train with a mentally ill person. Huo Yuao was in a good mood now. The sense of unhappiness that he'd had earlier disappeared. I'm fine. I just thought of something that made me happy. You're right. But I'm not a close combat soul engineer. I'm a war-type soul engineer to a certain degree. KK was stunned. A war-type soul engineer? It's my first time hearing that. What do you mean? Huo Yuao replied. A war-type soul engineer researches soul tools that exist solely for the purposes of war, mainly using close combat and certain long-range soul tools, but its effects are more for close range. He wasn't slow-witted. He had been giving his all for the ultimate soldier plan. After he figured out this all-important question, he immediately found his direction. However, he couldn't tell KK everything. He had chosen close combat as his main direction. As for long-range attacks, he would need Hikato to back him up. With their chemistry, the title of a war-type soul engineer should technically belong to the both of them. KK said, be careful of being overzealous. Huo Yuao asked her, Senior, what path did you choose? KK seemed to be in a better mood after Huo Yuao called her senior. She proudly said, I chose to be an explosive medium-range combat-type soul engineer. If I wasn't concerned about ruining the laboratory, do you think you would have one? Otherwise, when I fire a cannon at you, you won't be able to take care of yourself for the rest of your life. After digesting her words and recalling the huge cannon she brought at that time, Huo Yuao vaguely understood what her direction was. Huo Yuao sighed in his heart. Shrek Academy's soul tool department didn't make any clear distinctions like this. Soul engineers were classified just like soul masters. He had to pass this news back quickly. His entire trip out here made worthwhile by this discovery. As he was thinking, a thick aroma wafted over. He and KK were attracted to it. Wow, it's so fragrant. KK rushed towards Juzi. Her eyes brightened up. Surprisingly, her drooling face looked rather cute. Juzi's grilling technique was indeed amazing. The 2 pheasants she cooked turned a golden yellow from the grilling. Huo Yuao's nose twitched, and he could immediately tell that Juzi had used more than 10 different types of spices on the grilled pheasants, and could tell her grilling method was slightly different from his. However, he could ascertain that the taste of the pheasants would be good from its aroma and crispy, golden yellow appearance. Juzi glanced at KK and laughed. They always laugh at me for being a glutton, but you're not much different from me. It's just that you're good at hiding it. KK laughed. I'll put up with anything you say now. Faster. I'm dying of hunger. As long as you feed me right this instant, I'll let you say anything. Juzi glared at her before glancing at Huo Yuao, who didn't react. She joked, you're spouting so much nonsense. Are you sure he won't misunderstand you? Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.